Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Hayes Bennett, and I've spent the past 20 years studying aging, neuroscience, and the biochemistry of the human body, with a focus on trace minerals and metals that shape our health across the lifespan. Today I want to share with you something I believe may shift the entire conversation around autism causality. Namely, a unified theory that connects two seemingly unrelated trends: prenatal iron supplementation and the widespread use of reverse osmosis systems. Part 1. The clues we've been missing. For decades, autism rates have risen, and the usual suspects have included genetics, vaccines, screen time, chemical exposures, etc. But what if we have been looking in the wrong place? What if the real drivers are hiding in plain sight, deep in the metabolic workings of embryonic development? Let's look at two massive environmental changes. One, routine iron supplementation during pregnancy, especially in the first trimester, often without individualized screenings or considering the mother's iron status beforehand. And two, reverse osmosis systems, which filter out critical minerals, most notably manganese, also calcium. Both are transition metals essential to early brain formation and mitochondrial health, function, and colony development. These two factors can combine in ways that silently impair early stages of fetal neural tube development. High-dose iron can disrupt the delicate balance of zinc and copper. These are metals that must be tightly regulated in the formation of the spinal cord and the brain. And manganese, not magnesium, manganese is crucial for forming mitochondrial enzymes and antioxidant defenses in the developing brain. Remove manganese from drinking water, as reverse osmosis does, and you leave the embryo vulnerable to oxidative stress, misfiring growth signals, and barely developed mitochondrial colonies. Part 2, the science behind this hypothesis. Here's the biochemistry. Iron competes with other transition metals, not just manganese, but also copper and zinc. We spoke of those earlier, in ways that are amplified in pregnancy, first trimester. The developing fetus is exquisitely sensitive to these ratios that iron disrupts. When excess iron is introduced too early, it can trigger a chain reaction. Women are naturally anemic during first trimester. Nature designed us that way. And supplemental iron can really disrupt that. When excess iron is introduced too early, it triggers chain reactions. The disruption of copper-dependent enzymes, very delicate process, interference with zinc-based DNA regulation, and manganese depletion from filtered water further starves the development of mitochondria and the full machinery needed to make us who we are as modern humans, evolving humans. We're still evolving. This knocks us back. It disrupts, it derails nature's process. This triple hit, iron dominance, too much, copper suppression, and manganese absence is enough to cause misfolded proteins, incomplete axonal wiring, and long-term metabolic derailment. What emerges from that looks exactly like autism. This is not a fringe idea. AI models, including Claude AI, ChatGPT, and others, are now ranking this as one of the most plausible causal mechanisms for autism, especially for the post-2000 autism spike. These clues are converging. This theory needs to be taken very seriously. I believe it is causal, and it is so easily treatable with this understanding. We can stop it if it's true. And I believe it is. As a 20-year, full-time, including summers, transition metals scientist, evolutionary wellness scientist. Lots more on that. Part 3, the real-world evidence. I first began seeing these patterns while studying microcephaly clusters in northeast Brazil. From day one of that issue, when I was in the room with all of these international scientists at Johns Hopkins in the front row looking at iron ore mining while they were chasing and looking at mosquito causality, not viral. I was studying these metals near the areas of heavy iron mining along the São Francisco River and the sole water source for northeast Brazil, where these metals accumulated up the hill. These were not random defects. They lined up with the aluminum, and you've got microcephaly in northeast Brazil, manganese and iron exposures, and many of the same mechanisms that underlie autism. They used aluminum in northeast Brazil to cloak iron ore mining pollutions. Manganese clicks on to iron and drops it. So the water appears clear, but there's aluminum, and it also clicks on to neural tube development and stops the brain and skull from developing. There they are, pop, 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 pop. The New England Journal of Medicine. Those pops are metals and calcifications, and manganese is in the mix. And then I compared those findings to United States, U.S. drinking water reports and prenatal supplement trends, and the match was really uncanny. Where reverse osmosis water use is high and where iron supplements are given indiscriminately, autism clusters follow. This is not just a theory, this is a pattern recognition, and it is screaming for attention. Part 4, what needs to change right now? We need a shift, not more blame, but prevention, smart prevention. We need to test iron levels in women before supplementation, especially in early pregnancy. We need to reintroduce trace metals like manganese and filtered drinking water into reverse osmosis systems. Simple cartridges can do it, or however we decide and make it best to supplement. We need to educate providers on this delicate timing in neural development and the role of transition metals, particularly manganese, the voodoo metal, the magic metal, the origins of life metal. It's in every battery. It makes us happen. Let's educate ourselves on this dynamic metal that people avoid because it's unpredictable. Well, it's predicting autism when we take it away. Challenge the idea that iron is good, always good, because too much iron at the wrong time can cause lasting harm. This is not anti-science, this is science. Yay! This is what public health does. This is what public health sciences is for. I'm well into my second doctorate in health services research and policy. Hence, I make this video and share this knowledge. I also have a cognitive behavioral neuroscience master's working in a transition metals lab and have been studying these metals since day one, 20 years strong. My closing message to you, I know this challenges long-held assumptions. It did for me too. But the science is catching up, and so must we. I will say, I remember seeing iron supplement tablets in my mother's cabinet, but in Newport News, Virginia, where I grew up, we drank well water saturated with manganese. And my siblings and I have had pretty dynamic, accomplished careers. So it's not that iron is bad, it's that stripping manganese out is worse. So reverse osmosis is target number one. So I've spent decades in this field. I performed at the Kennedy Center as a soloist. I had a first career, which is riveting and also healthy. Our STEM technology should become STEAM. Let's get those arts back in there. It's important. This background is part of my life and health, and yours too. The music I listen to, the music I play at the piano over here to my left, is also builds my brain, my corpus callosum, all those good things. I know the science of that. That's what I like to do the best and the most. It's time we face the truth, though. This theory is the result of thousands of hours of research I have done, analysis, persistence, and faith, really. I have to follow my heart, my mind, the learning, and the truth. The truth is hard to bear sometimes in locked silos, locked circles of science. We get to open that up now. Let's do it. It's time we face that truth, that autism may not be some random genetic destiny, but a preventable outcome if we understand how metals shape life at the beginning. So thank you for listening. And if this resonates with you, please share it. Let's start a new conversation grounded in truth, compassion, let's save these children, and courage. This information not only saves children from but it also informs how we evolve within a human lifespan. I study evolution, how we evolved up to industrialization, and how we have, from that knowledge, how we evolved, we take another breath, we empower ourselves, we understand how we can evolve within a human lifespan. As opposed to being surrounded by plastic, fear, no music, no arts, and mutate. These are mutations. We don't want to mutate. We want to evolve. And spiritual wellness, understanding how we evolved in a wild and hostile, sometimes hostile environment, had pockets of, wow, what is coming next? So this is part of the evolution. Spiritual wellness is part of the evolutionary process. All these transition metals and origins of life and how we evolved to where we are. Now we're surrounded by plastic. And what is our potential within this contained environment with pressures that continue to activate our amygdala, which really, we don't need that activation anymore. AI is a great tool. Thank you for listening. This is a 15-minute video. Wow, I should work with a script more often. This is a real deal. Iron, first trimester. Only if the mother's life is truly in danger. A closer look at reverse osmosis and what is being stripped out. Rainwater is one thing. Yeah, that works too. But what also works, stream water that runs over these manganese is the most abundant metal on the earth. They're mining it in the bottom of the ocean. They need it for the energy of batteries. We need it for the energy of our mitochondria. Mitochondria are our batteries. We need it. And it's being stripped out. From my understanding, calcium is also being stripped out from reverse osmosis. I will give you, in the mitochondria, our powerhouses of the cell, they have their own DNA. This is another video, isn't it now? There is a uniport, one-way channel, and it either kicks out calcium when we're awake, we're oxygenated, we're functioning, we're thriving, or we're afraid, we're holding our breath, our foot's going bang, 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 bang. That's an epileptic type thing. Or we're tap, 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 and manganese shoots out. Manganese. What does manganese do in that situation? Or if we get a concussion and the bleeding begins, we should cool those concussions immediately and maintain that cooling. It's like it never happened. Minimizes, completely attenuates the damage. That's a product. But when it's untreated, uncooled, there's the ischemia. We have bleeding that happens, and the oxygen is choked out of the system. Calcium's not coming out of those mitochondria. Manganese. And what does it do? Manganese has one superpower. It cleaves oxygen out of water molecules. So it's cleaving, trying to scavenge survival through manganese that cleaves oxygen out of water molecules. And it particulates in the process. So, Alzheimer's, dementia. Here's another little morsel. Hypoxia, stress, duress, any number of things. A beta is cleaved in the mitochondria under hypoxic conditions. Under dehydration, it kicks out manganese and particulates, causing the tau. And if you see these curves, we can't survive 5 minutes without oxygen. There's the A beta. We can't survive 5 days without water, because when it cleaves that oxygen out, it particulates. There's the tau. 10 years later, you've got Alzheimer's, and it runs its course. So preventable. Thank you for listening. Linda Hayes Bennett. I grew up in Newport News, Virginia, family of 6 children. I was 4th. It was a pretty dysfunctional family. I loved going to school. I excelled in math. I was National Honor Society, won the Arian Award, recommended for the School for the Gifted, had musical talent, runs in my family. My brother won a Tony Award, Michael. I went on to have a very high-level operatic career. Then I saw the power of music in dementia patients. Worst case room of dysfunction I've ever seen. And I played a couple of notes on the piano, and it all stopped. And my life went into, it's like time stopped, and I thought, my goodness, I didn't even do anything. And here I sing at the Kennedy Center, all over the world, Limebourne, Royal Albert Hall, recordings. And just a few notes did that to them. They normalized. Everything stopped. They normalized. Free energy of sound. That's my main thing. In the course of doing my main thing and being brought on as a little orphan in the sciences, I am a very fully trained, mature, adult scientist. So I loved school as a kid, excelled in National Honor Society, all those things. went into music first, and now I'm in the sciences. So it's all coming together, and it's part of my evolution. Thanks for listening.